Love to.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Mind Magic with Taylor. Today, we are here with astrologist Jacq Dowling. She is a cosmic queen. She has been studying astrology for over a decade, and I'm so excited for myself and you all to learn so much from this conversation today. We are co creating this podcast to talk all about relationships and astrology. How do you use astrology as a tool in healing your attachment trauma, your relationships? Welcome, Jacq. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to dive in with you.
Yeah. So, starting with we were kind of just chatting about this, like relationships and astrology. What are your thoughts as someone who has is so knowledgeable and been doing this for so long? Like, why is astrology, to someone who is a naysayer, why is astrology a really powerful tool in healing your relationships?
Yeah, well, here's the thing, right? Like, I never try to sell astrology to people, you know what I mean? Because it's like you're either interested or you're not. And it's like there's certain people, it's like to me, it's like selling like a man's product to a woman. It's like it's not gonna land. So I never worry about the naysayers or the people who don't get it, right? Because it's like I'm trying to sell you a product that you're not interested in, so it doesn't matter. Like, you're like I'm happy you being a naysayer. Like, I'm for the people who see it as such a powerful tool.
Oh,
And it really, what?
I'm like going around telling people, like, no, tell me what time you're born right now. I'm going to prove it to you.
Well, I mean, I've been doing this for a decade, so I've like heard it all, and it's like really just like I'm happy with you being a naysayer. Like, there's this polarity, you know what I mean? Like, it keeps it interesting. So like it doesn't bother me at all. I'm just like, I'm not your intended audience. But most people, like, I find, especially when I explain the science behind it, especially like the men, right, tend to be more of the naysayers, because they're so practical, so they want the science behind it. And so as soon as usually I explain it, they're like, okay, I get it. Or I read their chart and they're like, wow, they're like blown away. Or they like feel really seen and like connected and close to you, and you're like, no boundaries, like, you know what I mean? Like, but it's just funny because really it is a snapshot of like what was going on in the world, in the cosmos, when you took your first breath. So it really is like your first baby picture, right? It is a map of your soul. And so it really is a powerful tool to show your patterning and the energy that you were given on earth to work with. And so understanding it and learning it, it's like a language, like it's a foreign language. So anyone who's like, I don't understand it, and it's like, yeah, I don't understand Spanish either, you know what I mean? Like, so it is a language that you can learn, but it articulates the energy that you are born to embody, right? And so in that spectrum, though, there are so many different, um, like, expressions or octaves of that energy, right? There's low octaves and high octaves. And so what I really help people do is live out the high octave expression of their chart, because it's like, like it's the same thing of like, all Virgos are not the same, because one, you have a whole chart, but also two, like, there's so many different ways that Virgo can manifest and express, right? Every single thing on this earthly experience can be like categorized within the zodiac wheel. And so there's so much groundwork and maneuver room to cover within that. And so what I really love to do, though, is work with women to really just become their most empowered selves, really embody, like, be in their body within their birth chart, because from there they're going to be such a powerful attractor and manifester, because they're not operating from the wounds of their patterning, of their chart, of their childhood, all that sort of stuff.
Oh, that's so beautifully put. And then, like, the authenticity piece, like you were saying, not everybody is for everybody. And,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the women that I work with have attachment trauma. And so there's this like need to be chosen is a really common theme. And you get so caught up in that you forget, am I even choosing this person? Is this person even in alignment with me? So, like, a good thing to look at is being like, look at these things in your chart. Like, depth is, you have Pluto and Scorpio in your seventh house. Like, depth is really important to you. If someone is not doesn't have that like level of depth in this life, that's okay. That's fine. But that just might not be a fit for you. And that's okay. It's
Yeah,
different.
and someone like that is really going to attract power dynamics within relationships to learn more about themselves. And so, really, when you're looking at attachment patterns, you're looking at the moon, right? I always say the moon is the ish you go to therapy for. So, like, just start with your moon sign because your moon is your needs. And to come from a place of secure attachment, you really want to learn to love on and nurture and support your moon because and two, from like a body and a nervous system perspective, so many women are operating outside of the frames of their body, which you're then coming from a place of neediness. And so it's like when you can pull your energy back and get into your body, which for a lot of women, it's like, I would say like the three, like the lower like chakras are really like where the attachment patterning comes from. And what blocks them, the root chakra is fear, the sacral chakra is guilt, and then the solar chakra is shame. And so it's like when if you can just unpack those three within you, you're actually able to come from a place of like security. And when you're coming from a place of security, of wholeness, of power, of creation within your body, within your frame, because you learned your attachment patterning through understanding your moon, then you're magnetizing relationship in. You're not going out and attracting it, right? Or you're not going out and like hunting for it or looking for it, because if you're looking for like a relationship, like let me tell you, you're going to attract the wrong relationship because that is not the nature of a woman. The woman is the attractor. Like, so she just has to actually be in her own energy. And so really relationship is less about like going out and finding it. Like that's the man's job. Like he's the hunter, right? It's really actually like, can I just be in my own frame and learn to meet my own needs and really value myself and really nurture my moon, but also then liberate my Venus, because my Venus is the thing that makes me magnetic, right? Like the woman who is in her joy and like doing her hobbies and living her life, like how many times do you hear people when they attract the love of their life, they're like, I wasn't looking, I was just like enjoying my life, right? It's because of that. And so when you can understand your astrology and your birth chart, you know how to meet your own needs and really align with someone who like values you, and also that makes you feel really good, and also that puts you in your feminine. So you can also like understand your birth chart too, to be like, okay, like I really see that I'm in my Mars in my relationship, which means I'm more in my masculine energy, right? So it's like that if you're a feminine woman, you're not going to be happy in a relationship if all you're doing is being in your Mars, right? And so it's just a really powerful tool to unpack, to understand that those kind of relational dynamics and how we relate to each other.
I love what you just said because that's something I share with clients is like noticing what energy you're in. So like if you are, because a lot of times, especially people with like that lean anxious in relationships, in the beginning, they're not necessarily in that proving energy. They're in that more like comfortable because there's no attachment there yet. They're in that kind of like comfortable, just authentic energy. And then as the attachment starts to form, that's when they seem to get out of that. And they're in this like monitoring, they're not in their own frame. They're monitoring the other person. They're in this like proving energy. All of their energy is going to scanning for like hypervigilance, scanning for any sort of rejection. And so I tell them to notice when they're in their like comfortable just going with the flow, not monitoring themselves energy versus when they're in that monitoring energy, and like shift back.
Yeah, because and really you want to use, instead of using your Mars, because when you're emotional, you're in your moon, but then you act out using your Mars. So the moon and the Mars are really closely interconnected, and that's really where I see a lot of women get blocked. I'm like, you're using your Mars in the wrong way. You need to be using your Mars to make your moon, your inner child, feel safe, secure, seen, supported. Whatever you're wanting the other person to give you, you need to give that to yourself. And so instead of using your Mars to go monitor like their behavior, their action, which is control, right? Because it's like whatever sort of like love dynamic learned that, you could dive into that, like that control was safety. But it's like then you actually just redirect your Mars towards yourself and like really kind of reparent, remother yourself to give yourself what you need. Then you're actually coming again to relationship from an empowered place and not needing to get your needs met, which totally changes the dynamic of your relationship too, when you're not constantly needing like that reassurance or attention from your partner, it really opens up your relationship to be like such a more of like a co-creative like space.
Yes, absolutely. While you were talking, I was thinking about like hard aspects. So, challenging opposition between some of those key signs, like your Mars, your Venus, your Moon. I know my Venus in Cancer is in hard aspect with my Capricorn Moon. So it's like there's this.
And into Neptune, right?
And to, yeah, and to my Mars in Aries, actually.
Yeah.
And then to
Yeah.
Neptune.
Yeah. Because I really look a lot at outer planet aspects to inner planet aspects. Like that is probably my favorite part of astrology, because your Venus in Cancer like looks, because it's opposing Neptune, it looks at everything with rose-colored glasses, right? So it's not operating, like you see the good in everyone, which is a beautiful trait. But if you're not using your Mars and Aries to like discern and assert boundaries, then you're just letting anyone in who like just, gets a taste of your like magic. Do you know what I mean? Which is then going to deplete your feminine, right? Yes. And so it's really learning how to balance it, and really like, using your Mars to like I always tell people with like Venus, Neptune aspects, I'm like, write a list of like your non-negotiables before a man even enters your life, and then cross-reference it with your list, because you need to give yourself hard physical evidence and proof, because you're always just going to like see through this like rose-colored glass lens. And so it's like really giving your brain the evidence of like how he is actually showing up, right? Mm-hmm. And really having those boundaries for yourself.
And, the crazy thing about setting those boundaries, like when you notice there are things in the relationship, I tell people, like, it doesn't mean that that's necessarily the wrong partner. Shift your energy first, see how the relationship then shifts, and then you'll have enough information to be like, okay, this isn't for me. But sometimes, when you shift, the person steps up and the energy shifts. I mean, like exactly what you just said about rose-colored glasses and depleting the feminine if you don't have boundaries and discernment. I have finally gotten to a point in my life where I noticed that. Like, I'm pretty go with the flow with my partner, and like, oh, you want to do this or you want to do this, and just little things, even like my partner's really great, but little things, like I noticed I was trying to talk to him while he was listening to a podcast, and he was like, babe, and I just thought about it, and I was like, that's a perfectly fair boundary, but I would never assert that. Like if I was something and he wanted to talk to me, I would pause it. And that actually happened probably 30 minutes later. He finished and came in the room, and I was listening to something, and he kept talking to me. And I was getting more and more agitated because I was like, this is a double standard. And finally I go, I'm listening to this. And the world didn't crumble. He didn't break up with me. He was like,
right. And we can, and we can learn a lot from men how to assert boundaries, because they don't really like emote, like, internalize it as much as we do.
Yes.
So when women are just learning to like assert boundaries, I'm like, observe men, how men do it, because they don't make it mean anything. They just are like, no, this is what's happening. This is my boundary.
And there's not an apology behind it. Like they're just, they're unapologetic and having their own needs and preferences. And that can be something, based on just being a woman, being socialized and conditioned as a woman in general. But then if you add layers of trauma on top of that, that adds even more complexity to it, especially like if you were conditioned as a woman to be, always giving and doing. And if you're a sensitive woman, so you grew up being kind of the natural absorber of all conflict and stabilizer in your family unit too.
Yeah. Which I find is a hard one for a lot of women, because what that actually does is it masculinizes women, right? Because if you're the one who's always having to monitor and keep everything in check and take care of everyone, even though that's like a form of mothering, like that's actually like the masculine form of mothering, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's like actually learning to receive is going to be a woman like that's like lesson, like that receiving support and love is safe, because they're so used to like earning and proving their worthiness, right? And so that can actually be really physically confronting for a lot of women, like learning to reel that in. And I'm like mother kids, mother babies, don't mother men, right? And mother yourself. So it's like learning to turn that outward projected energy like inward towards yourself instead of trying to get love from like doing and proving, which again can like really works in like the corporate world. And so it can be really hard to give your brain evidence of like the contrary in like a different sort of way. So I'm like, use that masculine energy like everywhere but relationships, right? Those relationships are meant for boundaries. Like use that masculine energy for boundaries in relationships.
And that's praised too. Like you hear people say, oh, my mom was so selfless. Like she, did everything for everyone. That is actually detrimental to your kids in a sense, because you're teaching them you're teaching your daughters that's what the feminine does. You're normalizing that. And then you're also teaching that to your sons as well, as what to expect in partnerships.
Yeah. So really we have a generation where where that has masculinized women and feminized men because of that dynamic. And so, you learn to receive from your mother. And then these men who are raised with a mother like that expect that from their women, right? And so that's actually a feminine man, right? If they're wanting the woman to do all of the grunt work and the emotional laboring, that's actually the man's job, you know what I mean? And so we kind of have this like duality that is kind of like all kind of confused and misconstrued now. So it's really interesting, just how those like simple dynamics within the home really set the foundation of the patterning, which again, going back to your moon, because your moon is like the energy of Cancer, is the mother and it is your emotions. Why like doing that inner child work and working with your moon is so powerful to really understand and like break free of your attachment patterning and like to really have secure attachment coming into relationship.
So I know that you are really, you've done a lot of work with your nervous system, and we
Mm-hmm.
had kind of talked about, so the idea that your nervous system is attracting people to you,
Mm-hmm.
and that you can actually get a lot of really good insights about your nervous system from your chart. So what do
Yeah.
you typically look for when you're trying to see like, okay, this is how this person's nervous system is functioning?
Yeah, so I definitely would look at the moon. I would look at Uranus aspects. I would look at Gemini, and I would look at sixth house and first house. So I'll throw myself under the bus as an example. I'm an Aquarius rising, so I'm ruled by Uranus, and I have Uranus opposing my Gemini moon. So that literally translates into a freeze body. like, it's taken me like probably 7 years to ground into my body, especially because all of my chart is air. So like nothing about my chart is on the ground. And so I've really had to break those freeze patterns because so freeze patterns are like disassociation, really like trying to figure out things with your minds, like hypervigilance. But hypervigilance can be more like sympathetic state as well. Like people who have a lot of fire tend to be like more sympathetic state nervous systems. People with a lot of earth can be more like, it's hard because they can be more grounded, but they can also be really loyal to like the comfort zone that's like not good for them, you know what I mean? And so like their nervous systems like refuse to like give themselves new experiences, because the thing that's hard with the nervous system is it is learned through experience, and so you break it through like you expand it through new experiences, right? And so
Yeah.
people with earth like aren't necessarily willing to break out of their comfort zone to give their nervous system a new experience, because they're so like connected to like that comfort zone of safety, right? Which can be water as well, like especially like Cancer placements, like they love their little shell. And I would say like air signs need to ground. Water signs need to learn how to process their emotions. And earth signs need to learn how to move. And then fire signs need to learn not to be so impulsive, and so they actually really need to like expand their capacity for like patience, right? Which again, like all of that is within the nervous system. Like patience, like people who are impatient, I'm like, that's your nervous system. That's actually not a personality trait. Like people who are overthinkers, that is a nervous system pattern. That's like, you think it because it's in your mind, that it's like, a mindset problem. And it's like, no, it's actually your nervous system. And so all these patterns that people kind of get stuck in, you can really look at in their moon. You can look at with the sixth house, the first house, and then really aspects to their moon as well, to see how they're kind of functioning. But if someone who is like all air like myself, like the first thing I would ask them, I'd be like, are you in your body? You know what I mean? And I wouldn't have even known, like when I first found astrology, like I wouldn't have even known what that meant,
Yes.
And so it's really like, do you feel like connected to yourself? Do you feel like you're grounded? Are you able to like rest and relax without like doom scrolling in your mind, right? Like, are you able to, like hold goodness, right? Like that's like something, like if you're not able to like hold on to things, like you're able to manifest things in, but you're not able to hold on to them, like that's a nervous system problem, right? And there's so many things that people don't understand, like that they struggle with, which I'm like, there's actually nothing wrong with you. Your nervous system is just stuck in a protective pattern. And so that's why, again, learning to work with the moon so that you can nurture yourself through that expansion, because your moon is your subconscious also. And the second that you go to expand, your subconscious is on high alert, like waiting to sabotage you, right? And so when you like, then your ego then that's when you get really heady and in your mind and you self-sabotage, when it's like, actually, if you learn how to meet your own needs and like nurture yourself through that expansion, then you can actually break through and create change. Because it's like the second that you pull back, then it's like your nervous system is not on high alert anymore. Your subconscious settles down, and then you go back, and then you start to feel safe again, and then you can like go bigger again, right? And people get stuck in this really vicious loop when it's really just their nervous system is stuck in a protective pattern. And so that's why it's really important to understand too, like your moon and your chart when you're creating change, because it shows you how to like break free of your patterning.
That's so well articulated, because I think just in a world of, I want to feel good, tell me how to feel good, it's not a sexy sell to be like, you actually have to push your capacity in like small ways and then recalibrate, and push your capacity and recalibrate. And that can be like, if you know that it's hard, always ask women about their receivership. They're like, you were saying, ability to receive. I was like, so if you are at somebody's house, if you're at a friend's house and they're like, hey, let me make you some tea, let me get you a coffee, and like your instant reaction is like, oh, no, I'll get it, or no, don't pay for our coffees or whatever, that you might have like a nervous system discomfort with receivership. And if in those little micro moments you can kind of catch yourself, conscious awareness of that, and be like, oh, wait, it's safe to receive. I'm going to let myself receive in this small way in this moment. You are actually rewiring that. You're showing your nervous system that you're safe to do something. And it's nuanced, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself. You want to like do it in ways, meet yourself where you are. So I think it takes a lot of self-awareness and like conscious monitoring of yourself.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like attuning your nervous system to like a new energy. Because too, like what I would say with like the receivership thing, because I know, because receiving is going to feel confronting for your nervous system. Like I have seen women, like powerful women, spiral out of control when they learn to receive, right? Because it actually is a danger signal in your nervous system. And so your nervous system responds as if the threat is like life or death, right? The nervous system doesn't understand nuance, right? And so too, like I always will say to people, I'm like, get like comfortable receiving in like micro doses. And so there is, generally one person or one place that you're like comfortable kind of receiving from, right? And so it's like, or have that safety of like, I can ask like my guy friend to do something for me, no problem. But like, why when I come from a relationship, like, is it like so confronting, right? And so it's like actually like attuning yourself to like a new normal. Like, let's just say like if your nervous system has never experienced like a safe, secure, supportive man, like that energy is probably somewhere in your field already, right? Like that could be with money, that could be with like a sibling, that could be with a friend, but like really just like every time, like practice receiving there, and then tell your body, like this is what my man will feel like, right? And like just like really really going through the somatic process of being like, this is actually what like a safe masculine man feels like, right? This is what support feels like. Because if your inclination of support as a child was like emotional enmeshment or self-sacrifice or loss of autonomy or whatever it is, then it's of course you're going to block yourself from receiving that support when that's not actually like the pure form of support and what it feels like. And so it's like looking for the clues of like where it actually is pure energy versus like distorted through my attachment patterning, if that makes sense.
So it does. There's a group that I work with for plant medicine, and it took me a while to kind of figure this out. But a big part of the work that's happening within the group and the purpose of the group is repatterning people's ideas around safety and community and like being held.
Mm-hmm.
And there's co-ed groups. It's like a lot of women and men, but there's a lot of women with sexual trauma. So it's like having emotionally intimate moments with men where there's no sexual energy, and like rewiring their ideas around masculinity and
Mm-hmm.
femininity.
Yeah, and that's why I would say that like support, like hiring support is so powerful because anytime you're hiring like a coach, a teacher, a mentor, you're actually getting their masculine energy. And so that's really how I really learned to like repattern my system was like I hired a coach that I felt safe with. And it was a female, it was a woman, but like she had such beautiful masculine energy, right? And so I was able to be like, okay, this is actually what it feels like in my body, right? And it's like, and two, like it's some, it is important too to like also do that work with men because your body remembers like remembers it all, right? And so it really is important to like attune your body to like a new like pure kind of state of like what it actually feels like versus your distortion. And so and it's really again like re-nurturing yourself in that moment to not like sabotage or react or even just like let yourself like be messy with it. And again, it goes back to like the Cancer energy because the cancer in your chart, again, it's your inner child, it is your mother, it is how you receive support. And so the reason why support doesn't feel safe for a lot of people too is because it's vulnerable, right? Cancer is your inner heart. And so I see this a lot with women too, right? They like are like when you masculinize yourself, it really actually blocks your heart. You can see this within Saturn aspects within your chart, especially like Saturn to the moon, Saturn to the Venus. I'm like, what was the relationship with your mother like? Because your heart, like it impacts your heart. Like Saturn's on your heart, and so it doesn't feel safe for you to actually receive support, and it actually masculinizes you to go out and seek support, like or like work for support or be your own support, right? Which is the very nature of the feminine is to receive the support, and so it's really kind of just coming back to like that purity of like the feminine and masculine balance, which again, like the feminine and masculine, they meet in your heart. And so, and when you can open your heart and when you can learn to trust to feel safe receiving support, like life will just be so much more magical from that place because you're then attracting things in from your heart, not from your patterning and your conditioning again.
Oh, that's so well put. What you just said about learning to receive from the heart, say that again, what you just said.
Yeah, so from an astrological perspective, Cancer is the inner heart, right? If we even just think about the biology of it, like we are like nursed from like Cancer rules any part of the fleshy parts of a woman, like the breast, the belly that grow when a woman is pregnant, right? And so there's a nourishment and a nurturing that needs to happen within the inner heart, which is Cancer, in order for us to feel safe to expand out of our comfort zone to receive, right? And so that means there needs to be a cracking open of the heart to express a vulnerability. And that's why asking for your needs is so confronting, right? Because it requires you to open your heart. But if you're not opening your heart, you actually like can't experience true vulnerability and true intimacy and allow yourself to receive love, feel good, be vibrant, because all of these are expressions of the heart. And so Cancer is the inner heart, Leo is the outer heart. It is like the outward expression of the heart. And so I really think that I'm so passionate about it because it's like so much of women's conditioning can really be like stem back to that inner child work, which is the catalyst for which you open your heart, because your heart is your feelings. Like if you anything, the reason you want anything is because how you think it's going to make you feel, which is why people get everything that they want, but they don't feel good because it was created not from their heart, right? And so when you can learn to open your heart, not only does like success manifestation feel good because you can feel it, but it also becomes a lot easier because you're opening your lighthouse, right? Your heart is your lighthouse. And so it becomes like so much easier because people are attracted to you and find you because you're living from your heart. And living from your heart is the most rare thing on this planet. So people find like they know when there is a woman living and embodied in her heart energy. Because love is the highest frequency, right? And authenticity, all of that is in your heart.
I think that, so I see it as like a spectrum. Like, you know what I mean? You're there sometimes, it's opening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and things I noticed on, because I was very much like what you're describing about, like my Mars is in Aries in my 7th house, very much like in my masculine energy, just kind of like always like wanting more and more and more. It's never like that not enoughness energy.
Mm-hmm.
And through my journey, one thing I've noticed is like noticing the small things. Like it's not even like the world around you shifts, but the way your lens shifts. So like being outside and being like, wow, this is so pretty. It's so beautiful out. The sun, like you just have this appreciation for really small things that you just missed before.
Yeah, well, the sun's always shining, right? Whether we can perceive of it or not. Like our heart is always radiating. It's whether like it can be perceived or not, right? And two, I would say that's your Capricorn moon also, because Capricorn moon is like ruled by Saturn, right? And Saturn is the thing to me that blocks your heart. So like Uranus is like your nervous system, Saturn blocks your heart, and Neptune is the planet that really keeps you out of body. And then Pluto is really where you are like disempowered. So they're like unpacking so many of those like outer planet aspects to your inner planets is really powerful to understand like your kind of your blind spots and your kind of places where you like more need to heal. So that's what I would say too.
So really your chart can give you a pathway to being in your heart space, like to getting back into
Yeah.
your heart. No, I love
Yeah,
that.
that's like because I would say that's really like the work that I do, because you can't actually really fully live from your heart if you're not in your body.
Mm.
Right. And no, like here's the thing, like I will say, like, because this is truly the thing that I've had to work so hard to do, is to come into my body. And people want the vitality, right? They want the vibrancy, they want to feel good. And that starts with your nervous system again. And it's like in order to be fully in your body and in your nervous system, you have to feel your emotions, which again people avoid because it's vulnerable, going back to the heart. And so I really think it's like, you can't really do one without the other. Like you have to address the body and you have to open your heart. And so it's really not like tell a woman with 6 placements in air that she has to learn to feel her feelings and live in her body. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it was very hard. Like it was very confronting. And it was like a 7-year journey, right?
You
Um,
were you were born to be a cosmic queen.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing though, right? It is my gift, but it's also the thing, like, it was so much safer for me to live out of body. Like it was so, but like I also wasn't like living like grounded in reality at the same time. I wasn't like you living in the fullest, because if you're not in your body, you're disconnected from your feelings, right? And
Mhm.
so when I wanted to be in a relationship, like how was I going to be in a relationship when I was, a cloud?
Yes.
Right? And so I had to do the work to come down into my body and like actually open my heart, right? Because it's really hard for a person to be in a relationship with someone who's like not on the planet, you know?
Yeah. The path to that is, I think it's so good to normalize for people how messy and nonlinear and confronting that the path can be. It's like coming from being numb, like coming out of
Yeah.
like falling out of numbness for me has been really tough. Like
Hmm.
moments where I'm like, am I getting worse? Because
Yeah.
it's I feel, but I'm feeling everything. So it's
Yeah.
just like, there's definitely, without that context, for me, I'm a contextual, that's how I find safety in context
Hmm.
information. And
There
I
you
have to
go.
remind myself, like, yeah, I'm like, this is important part of the process because like, we're so conditioned to want to just feel okay, like be okay. It's hard to really be like, oh, this is, beautiful part of this process to feel this grief and to feel this like overwhelm, shut down,
Yeah.
exhaustion, other things.
Well, and it's the thing that makes us human. So it's like, I think it's recognizing the beauty and the mess of it. Like no other creature on this planet feels emotion and at the capacity that we do. It's the thing, like the sensuality and the emotion of this earthly experience is like what makes us human. So I think it's just like understanding that no one has it figured out. Like,
Yeah.
you know what
Well,
I mean? There's always more.
forever humbled.
Yes.
Like this beautiful concept of duality, I think changed a lot for me. Like, if you think about us in our spirit form, we don't feel any of these heavier energies that we do here on earth. So how do we even truly know, these highest expressions like love, joy, peace, if we haven't felt that the duality of it, if we haven't felt the
Yeah.
opposite, how can we truly know its meaning?
Right. Yeah,
Mm.
it's like, it is the thing again, like, because, here's the thing, like Western astrology is a study of the season. It's seasonal astrology. So the study of the sun, the light through the ecliptic. So it literally is recognizing that there is a season for everything, right? If the sun never set, like it would be like midsummer, you know what I mean? Like the horror movie Midsummer, it would like always be light out. Like that would be a nightmare, you know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
we welcome the darkness because the darkness teaches us about the light. But the light is so powerful because space is 98% dark matter, and the light can really, like, think about how the light influences us here on earth. So that's how powerful really your, just taking it again back to your heart is. Like your heart, like one person living from their heart can awaken, like is like just as more powerful than like 55,000 people like not living in their light. And so it's like recognizing the duality of the seasons, of even just the cycles of the moon, of the day, of the night, of our experiences of fear, of grief. And it's like, well, if you experience grief, that then the other pull of that is love. So it means that you had love in your life. So grief is actually a powerful emotion because it means that there was love there, right? And so it's always just recognizing the duality of the emotions. Like, so it's really just, if you can hold it on one end, that means you can hold it on the opposite end. So it's like, if you can hold the fear, like you can hold the safety, right? If you can hold the grief, you can hold the love. And so and that's really how we expand our capacity. It's like the totality of the experience. Like a balloon is blown up at 360 degrees, right? The chart, the chart is 360 degrees. Like there's a dark part of the chart, there's a light part of the chart. Like, so there's room and validity for everything that we experience, but it's just like, are you being the divine wielder of your light and actively choosing what you want, or are you choosing, the fear because that's what's comfortable?
Oh, I love that. I've talked about that before, that about like capacity, and the way a way to think about your trauma, your pain is like the deep people who have felt really deep pain can feel really deeply. Like they can feel and
Yes.
capacity for really deep love and joy. And that's always been my thoughts on angry people. Like I used to work in education. And so like really angry kids, I always saw that as like, oh, that's a lot of pain.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because underneath the anger is hurt. So it's like, and too, like, what I'll say too, and so much of this is, and within the female nervous system, I will say that there is such a sacredness to rage and to anger, and some of it that we carry isn't even ours. But I will say that feeling that and expressing that is one of the most actually regulating experiences for the female nervous system. And so, can we not judge it? you know? Can
Yes.
we just accept it? Because that, on the other side of that, like rage or that anger, is power.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is really the gateway to your power, is allowing you to express that intense emotion.
And it's, it's so interesting to see women's different relationships with anger. Like sometimes I see things in the chart that indicate like repressed rage. And then if I ask like, what's your relationship with anger? It might be like, oh, I don't get angry. And it's, sometimes you find that they were taught anger is a negative emotion. So that you avoid it and you
Mm-hmm.
like push it down. And I'm like, okay, well, what if have you ever had like, especially an easy one is like if someone drinks, like if it was like you ever had a few glasses of wine and something, rubbed you the wrong way and there's this much bigger reaction to it than normally there would be. And they're like, oh yeah, that's happened before. I'm like that, there it is. It's down there. And there it is wanting to pop up and come up. And I think it just, part of my own experience with anger as well is like, there was a time when I was afraid. I was afraid of
Yeah.
getting angry because there was so much of it shoved down that I didn't feel, and I feel like my system could tell too that we couldn't let any come up because then it was going to be like, a geyser explosion. And really, like, we're meant to metabolize and release energy and motion or emotions so that when we get angry, that's just our body giving us information. We can let that just move through without, trying to hold back the dam of 20 years of anger that you haven't let out.
Yeah. Well, and what I'll say too is like people are afraid to experience anger because on the other side of that anger is their power, right? And people are so afraid of their own power, but also bringing it back to like the the attachment wounds and like, authenticity. And it's just like, because we as children, we learn through mirroring. And so if we expressed anger as a child and we were like punished or put in timeout or shamed or shunned, we then learn to internalize all of that, which is the most toxic thing you could do for your health, really, because that anger is going to create inflammation, and that inflammation will create manifest as dis-ease, right? Because your system is not operating in ease, because your body naturally knows how to release emotions. If you watch any dog, any animal, they are always processing their emotion. It is actually just energy wanting to move through you. And it's only the stories that we give our emotion that make it mean anything, right? And so, can we learn that? And the thing with anger too is it really is, it's so disempowering, because it's like all of the power that you need to achieve your goals is on the other side of you expressing that anger. And so it's doing that shadow work within your nervous system to really have a safe container in place for you to express that. Because on the other side of you expressing that anger and that emotion, not only will you feel better, you'll be more powerful and you'll feel a lot lighter. So it's like all of it is so much of like you living from a place that feels good comes back to feeling the emotions that you're avoiding.
Oh gosh. That's so powerful. I love that. I'm clipping that.
Listen,
We
My Jupiter return, I like in Cancer, I'm like, I have mastered emotions.
You are on it. So this, I love this conversation because it's really reiterated the fact that the path to the relationship that's meant for you is inward. It's the inner work that's just going to naturally attract what is in alignment with you. And what I want to ask your thoughts on is when you look at people's synastry in their chart. So like
Mm-hmm.
if someone is like, oh, and I get this all the time. Clients will be like, we read this person's chart. Okay, here's their chart. Here's my chart. What do you think? And so looking at synastry between two people, what are some of the key things that you look at? Because if someone is doing their work, there's obviously going to be certain types of people that are going to be optimal, to support them in doing so versus like regressing back into an old pattern.
Yeah. Well, I always give like a very Libran answer to this because I'm a triple Libra, and I'm always like, it's your birth chart is just a way for you to explain like who you are to someone else, right? And so for me, it's really like I use it less as like maybe like a compatibility tool, although like I do think that is helpful rather versus like these are my needs and this is what makes me feel happy, and like articulating that to your partner and then understanding your partner also, and being like, okay, well, he has an Aries moon, he's really going to need alone time and like a healthy outlet for him to like do activities. So like a hobby or like something competitive is going to be like paramount for his health and vitality and vibrancy. And like, can I just learn to love that and accept that's who he is? And that's just like a natural way for that he's patterned or wired, right? And so then we don't have to, as a woman, like judge or like, I hate like the word nag, but like nag him about that, because it's just like, I accept him for who he is. I understand that's a part of his wiring. Or like, I have a Venus in Sagittarius. like I'm like, I need someone to make me laugh and like take me on adventures, right? So like that's, and like, so I can like, when I go into relationship, I'm like, I know that like that is something that I bring to the table. Like I'm going to bring fun, I'm going to bring adventure. And these are, I like really value like that in a partner, who's someone who can like, is like down to do that with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like less like, oh my God, he's a Cancer sun, he's toxic, versus like, okay, well, I understand that he's a little bit more going to be more sensitive, right? He might have some mother-ish that he needs to work through. So let me make sure I am not mothering him and enabling that behavior, So
it's like a validation of things that you like. Hearing you say that, my own partner, I have a tendency to really want to go deep when I'm like in the relationship. Like I need to like have depth in conversation, and he like kind of titrates with that. Like he needs to like break it up with a joke. And at first I kind of took that personally, like he was dismissing me or like not, really being present with me in the conversation. And then I actually found that in his chart. Like I was like, oh.
Isn't he a Gemini?
Yeah.
Geminis are like, I can go a mile wide, but an inch deep. Yeah.
He's good at articulating that. Like he'll say,
yeah.
He's also an Aquarius moon. And so he'll say like, this is heavy. I need a break,
Yeah.
And at first I was like, this bothers me. And we've been able to, talk through it. And I told him, how that feels for me. But it was really helpful to see that in the chart, because I was like, oh, that's just a need that he has. I can deal with that. I was internalizing it. Was the problem.
And that's the thing, right? You make who someone naturally is mean something about you when it has nothing to do with you, Yes. And too, like, I see him with all of his air. Like, I totally get him. And Aquarius moons, like they always have some sort of karma with their mother that they need to unpack, because So he was like that, maybe that depth was just never nurtured in him. And so it just will take him time to like build that capacity.
I love the way, it's like, as much as and that's probably one of the biggest things I've studied on how to spot in the chart is the mother wound. I'm just really fascinated by the different ways it expresses itself. But that made me smile when I told you my moon sign, and you were like, oh, what's the deal with your mom?
Yeah.
Like when I see somebody's chart that I'm going to meet like a new client, once I spot the mother wound, I'm like, oh, no wonder I feel like they're people with the mother wound are drawn to me, even though I don't really necessarily talk about that a lot in my content.
Yeah. Well, I will always say that like the things that we have gone through, we naturally attract people who are a fit for that like line of work, because it's like, how to help someone with that, you know what I mean? Because you experienced it. So I always do find that like whatever we've had to like go through, it's like, well, yeah, of course I'm going to attract clients in with that same patterning, because I know exactly how to help you. That's like the whole point, right? It's like, I know exactly what you need.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that. And it's beautiful how it happens energetically on an energetic level. It's unspoken. I'm always trying to ground that concept for people, just as a very like science grounded person myself. But I'm so fascinated by reading energy and the ways that we just all naturally read energy in a way that's not being processed through our conscious mind.
Yeah, well, and it goes to show you that like marketing is just energy, isn't it? Because it's like, really your only job is to just make yourself available, and like it's just trusting that, like, because your nervous system is your attraction center, and so it's like resonant frequencies will always align. And so how do I just make myself visible? Or even too, just like the reason why I can go to a coffee shop and meet a woman who I connect with, and it's like, well, oh my God, like, so much in common. It's like, well, it's because there was resonance there. And so it's really just recognizing too, like, and I'll say, even from an astrological perspective, like paying attention to like the patterns that you attract in, because everything is patterning, right? It's like why, I always attract in men who are like, Cancer suns and water. And it's like, because I like am all air, so it's like it balance, you know what I mean, like it balances it out. And so it's like, I don't know if like someone else who was so airy would like, we just would never like maybe attract, because there's no polarity there, you know what I mean? And so it's like, of course I'm gonna like attract people with like earth and water, because my experience is so air and fire. And so it's like two opposite sides of the battery that are going to like connect, so you can really look at it from like an elemental perspective as well. But yeah.
I love that. I was I was thinking about my Mars and Aries in the seventh house. My partner Aries also governs his seventh house, and I see
Okay.
that like, you know what I mean, that kind of, and there's other things that balance it out for both of us, but I see that kind of
Competition. Mine is Leo, and so we're always like fighting for like the stardom, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm the star of this relationship.
But I really like, but he's a Gemini, and I have a Mercurial sun, and we're both very cerebral. So
Yeah.
One of the biggest friction points I see is like needing to have the last word and be right. And it's almost like, is everything I say, he's like, well, I think, I'm like,
that is the Gemini. Like, when have you ever not thought? Like, like, tell me more.
So I would love for us to end with like any transit predictions you have for 2026
Yeah.
relationships.
So as far as relationships, I really kind of, circling back to like the beginning, how it's all, everything is you pushed out. So like your relationships really are a powerful mirror for, what you're embodied in. And two, like for the positive and I should say like and both sides of the contrast, right? Like if I see someone who's very light and vibrant and I'm like drawn to the energy, they're just reflecting to me my own light and vibrancy, right? And so it's like, well, that's just something maybe that I haven't like given myself permission to explore and experience or articulate or express, right? And so we're really gonna, I feel, find out a lot within the people that we're attracting in, like who our true identity is, because we do have Saturn and Neptune moving into Aries. Aries is all about the identity. And so I think there's going to be a lot of dissolving of like false identities, and really like understanding and getting back to like the truth of who we are and really into our own independence. Where there's definitely going to be like an influx of mental energy with Uranus in Gemini. Uranus ingresses into Gemini in April, end of April, and it will also trine Pluto that's in Aquarius. So there's going to be a lot of like heady energy and a lot of fast energy. And so we're going to like be finding like that we're just like moving through and processing things a lot faster, I think too. And whether that, and so I think sometimes when energy moves fast, like I know for myself, like I'm a really fast processor, fast mover, that we really can align with people. Like we can kind of like do the shifts that we need to do and then like realign and rearrange with people quicker. Or like even if that's just within our doing our own internal shifts within our partnerships quicker. But we really are going to be healing the body with Chiron and Taurus. We did that. That was like the transit that really, Uranus through the fourth house is rough. Was rough for my air. It was really all about embodiment, and Chiron and Taurus is really kind of be healing a lot of the body. And so we're gonna have to do, with all this fast-paced energy, really integrate within the body a lot, and notice, where we were attracting relationships from misalignment or from nervous system patterning. The nodes moving into, so Jupiter enters Leo, and then the South Node also enters Leo this summer. And Leo is all about the heart. It is romance. It is, I always say Leos are down to fall in love 24/7. So come like summer, midsummer, we're going to be like fiending for love. I feel, but we're going to also have to do a lot of work within the relationships, because the South, that's where the South Node is going to be. And so the South Node is where we have to do our shadow work. And so we're going to have to see like maybe where we like dull or dim our shine in relationships, where we're not fully expressed in who we are, maybe where we're not like as giving and as loving, because that's like the high octave of Leo. Like they're really like lovers, and I think that energy is really misconstrued and misunderstood. I'm like, Leos are so giving and so generous and so loving when they're coming from the right place, right? Is the energy of the sun. The sun is always giving light, right? It's always giving life and light. And so really like we're gonna see like where we kind of dim and dull our own shine too, because that was like I have a South Node in Leo in the seventh house. It's like my patterning was always like where I shrunk my light in relationships, right? Instead of like fully being myself and like holding my light. And with Jupiter entering Leo, it will also oppose Pluto. And so Jupiter expands whatever sign it's in, right? So again, both sides of the contrast. And then opposing Pluto, it's really again going to be like opening our heart, opening our expression to our authenticity. And so I think there's going to be a big shift kind of in love. Like I think people are going to be like just loving it more like out loud and like, expressing more of themselves. And I think there's also a big shift more into like IRL, like dating and like connection and community. Which I always say, I'm like, I walk down the street and meet guys. So like, don't think that you have to be on the app. Like, that's why you just have to open your heart, because they will find you if your heart is open. Like they will find you. It's like a fly will find the light. You know what I mean? Like they're like, it's that same pull. Like they're so attracted to your light. And so it's like that energy of like just coming back into your heart, opening your heart and expressing who you are is really your source of magnetism in 2026. I could say that always, but like that's like the energy that's super amplified this year, which I'm excited about.
Yes, I love it. Gosh, you are so deeply knowledgeable. This has been beautiful. Where can people find you? What's the best place to learn about your offerings and, follow you on social media?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at cosmic.jack. I also have a Substack. I write so much on Substack, all about the energy, all about the nervous system, astrology, all sorts of stuff on my Substack. I'm also on TikTok at Jacq Dowling, which is just my name. You can message me on any of those platforms. I'm also on YouTube, and I do weekly energy updates on YouTube, which people love. So I'm kind of in all of the places, but yeah, feel free to message me on Instagram or TikTok if you want to book a session, want to work one-on-one with me. I coach one-on-one. So yeah, but I'm excited for the year ahead.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to put all of that information linked in the description as well.
Amazing.
All right, guys. Bye. Until next time.
Bye.